Okay, so, today we're diving into,
Oh, this is going to be good.
yeah, this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
We're going into a 2020 study, and it was in the American Economic Review.
Wow. Okay, big publication,
Yeah,
high impact factor.
exactly. And it's called The Welfare Effects of Social Media. And this one, I know you were excited about this one because it's not just like,
Oh, yeah.
someone's opinions. It's
Right.
like what happens when people actually.
It's like an experiment.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
not just some survey or something like that.
Yeah, no, exactly.
This is real data.
Yeah, it's a real investigation into what happens when people get off Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we all talk about it.
Right.
But like what actually happens
Yeah, yeah.
if you take a break from Facebook,
Exactly.
does your life actually change?
Yeah, and so like our goal here, our mission, if you will,
Right.
is to kind of pull out
Yeah.
the most important insights from this research.
Okay. And so I guess the mission is to see how it affects our well-being.
Yeah.
How it affects our social lives, how it affects, even our political views,
Yeah.
all sorts of things.
Yeah. And even how we value.
And how what we think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. That's a big part of it.
Exactly.
So, I mean, for me, what makes this study so compelling, right,
Yeah.
is the way that they conducted it.
Yeah.
They didn't just survey people.
Right.
They actually
And a lot of times they'll just survey and be like,
like, how do you feel?
how do you feel? Right.
Yeah. And you're just like,
And it's so subjective.
yeah, exactly.
So this is very different.
So this is what's called a randomized controlled trial.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, when they do like a medical study
Right.
and they give like some people the medicine
Oh,
and
blah,
some
blah.
people a placebo.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So like a real experiment.
Yeah.
Right. And so in this case, they had thousands of participants and they randomly assigned them to either
Okay.
deactivate their Facebook accounts for a certain amount of time
Oh, that's interesting.
or to keep using it as usual.
Oh, okay.
And so that allows us to like look,
Control.
yeah, to really like control for other factors
Yeah, yeah.
that might be influencing, these things.
Well, okay. Yeah.
We want to make sure we're isolating it.
Right. So we can really say it's not something else.
Right. It's actually getting off Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this allows us to draw much stronger conclusions
Yeah.
than a typical survey could, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's like,
Like putting it under a microscope.
yeah, putting Facebook use under a microscope in the real world.
Exactly.
They looked at, I know there's a lot of things that
Yeah.
we've talked about before that,
Yeah, we care about.
yeah, like happiness,
Yeah.
how you get your news,
Right.
political viewpoints.
Yeah.
And then they even looked at, like, after you take a break, do you even think about Facebook differently?
Right. Right.
So it gets into, like, our perception
Yeah.
of
Are we
the value of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, there is. So what are like the core
Yeah.
questions that
So
we're
big questions that we're
Yeah.
going to try to get to the bottom of with this deep dive. I think like a big one is just like,
Yeah.
does it affect your happiness?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, is Facebook actually
Making us happy.
affecting your mood?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how does it shape your news consumption? Like, are you more informed because of it,
Yeah.
or are you less informed?
Right.
And then
And then like the political.
the political discussions, right? Like
Yeah.
the political stuff that's happening on there is
Yeah.
making us more polarized.
Right.
And if we step back from it, does that change?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like you said, like, do we even understand?
Are we overestimating its value?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we
might think we need it,
Yeah.
but do we?
Right. Yeah.
So those are some big questions that we're going to try to.
Yeah, I think and what's cool about this study is like the scale
Oh, yeah.
of it.
It's massive.
Yeah, it's not just like,
Like 100 people or something.
right.
Like thousands of people.
Thousands of people
Yeah.
going through this deactivation.
Yeah.
And they measured like so many things.
Oh, yeah.
Like they used surveys.
Right.
They tracked their online
Right.
activity.
So it's a stone.
Yeah, it wasn't just like
It was very comprehensive.
it was
They really wanted to get a good picture.
yeah, so it's not just like, oh, I felt better, like
Yeah, yeah.
it was like substantial.
They wanted to get like the hard data.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so where did they
Yeah.
see the biggest changes?
Well, I mean, one of the most striking areas was in what they call subjective well-being.
Okay.
And this is kind of like
Probably happiness.
happiness, life satisfaction, and also like they looked at like depression and anxiety.
Okay.
And they found that for those 4 weeks when people deactivated Facebook,
Right.
they actually reported feeling, happier, more satisfied with their lives.
Wow, Floyd.
Less depression, less anxiety.
So you're saying like they felt noticeably, but like what does that mean? Like what does that mean like day to day?
Right.
Yeah,
that's a great question because
how much happier?
right.
Yeah.
Well, the researchers actually tried to like put that into context
Yeah.
by like comparing these improvements
Yeah.
to what you typically see in like studies on like psychological therapies.
Oh, okay.
So like, if you go to like therapy
Yeah.
or like a self-help program
Right.
or like some kind of like group therapy session or something,
Crooked.
what they found was
Yeah.
the boost in well-being
Yeah.
that you get from deactivating Facebook
Yeah.
is somewhere in the range of like 25 to 40% of the effect you might see
Oh, wow. Okay.
from those kinds of therapies.
So that's actually pretty significant then. It's not just like
Yeah, I mean, it's not like,
2%.
it's not going to cure
Yeah.
your clinical depression or anything,
Right.
but it's like it's a meaningful
Yeah.
improvement
Okay.
in your overall well-being.
Okay, so a month off Facebook
Yeah.
has a pretty substantial impact on mental health.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It seems like it, and like comparable to what therapy is trying to do.
Yeah, a good chunk of it at least.
Yeah. Okay, that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, what about like how they spend their time, when they're not on Facebook? Did they notice like any shifts in other online activities, offline activities?
Yeah.
What happened?
Right. So this is where it gets interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because they found that the time spent on Facebook tends to replace
Oh, okay.
offline activities.
Okay.
So like when people
So you're not on Facebook.
but you're not doing both.
Right. It's
Okay.
not like you're just adding Facebook on top of everything else.
Right.
It's like Facebook is taking the place of something else.
Interesting. Okay.
And so they found that, people, when they weren't on Facebook, they reported, spending more time watching TV alone. They were, doing other kinds of solitary offline pastimes.
Yeah.
But they were also spending more time with friends and family.
Oh.
So it's interesting, right? Because it's like it's cutting into both of those things.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like it's cutting into the time you might spend like
With your friends and family?
with your friends and family, but it's also cutting into the time you might spend
Just like chilling by yourself.
just like decompressing.
Yeah.
And so this suggests, that Facebook
Like,
is potentially taking up time
yeah.
that you could be using for
Yeah, there's more.
real world interaction
The world.
and downtime.
Yeah.
You only have so many hours in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about like the other online activities?
Yeah.
Like
Because you might just think, oh, well, if I'm not on Facebook, I'm just going to go to Instagram.
exactly.
Yeah.
Twitter, whatever, TikTok.
Exactly. So they actually looked at this.
Yeah.
And they found something pretty interesting.
Okay.
They found that Facebook deactivation
Yeah.
actually led to a reduction in time spent on other online
Activities, including other social media, and even like non-social online activities.
You see, it's not just like
It's like a one-to-one. It's not like a substitution effect.
Yeah.
It's like Facebook
interesting.
is almost like a gateway drug to the internet
Yeah.
in a way.
They're like, oh, well, I'm already here.
Yeah, I'm already here. I might as well.
I might as well check my email.
Yeah.
I might as well.
So it seems like it complements other online activities more than it substitutes for them.
Interesting. Okay, so less Facebook might mean
Yeah, potentially.
less overall screen time.
It's possible.
Okay, yeah.
That's what the data suggests, at least.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about political engagement and news consumption.
Right, that's a big one.
Yeah, this is like, a lot of the discussion about social media is centered around this.
Yeah, totally.
So what did they find here?
Okay, so this is where the picture gets a little bit more nuanced.
Okay.
So they found that when people deactivated Facebook, they reported paying less attention to news about politics.
Okay.
Specifically about then President Trump. And they also saw a decrease in how well participants performed on a quiz testing their knowledge of current events.
Okay, so less.
Yeah, less Facebook, less news.
Less news.
It seems like Facebook does play a role
Yeah.
in keeping people informed.
Okay, so it's not all bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Not all bad. Okay.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not like it's all negative.
Right.
There are some benefits.
Yeah.
It seems.
Okay, so but what about like the quality of the news? You know, like we hear so much about misinformation, fake news, spreading on social media. So
they looked at that.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets kind of interesting.
Okay.
They didn't actually find any like statistically significant impact of Facebook deactivation on people's ability to identify fake news.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, it doesn't seem like Facebook is the main driver.
So maybe fake news doesn't.
Right. Maybe it doesn't primarily spread through Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, like, maybe people are getting it from other sources anyway.
Okay.
And remembering it from those other sources.
Yeah. Okay. So it seems like Facebook contributes to, like, general news awareness.
Yeah, it seems like.
Like, not necessarily.
But maybe
like fake news.
Right.
Okay, now what about political polarization?
Oh, this is a big one.
Yeah, yeah.
So
did it taking a break from Facebook change anything there?
So this is really, I think, a key finding.
Okay.
You know, for understanding the broader impact of this. So, they observed a decrease in political polarization.
Okay.
Specifically in like how strongly people held their opinions on particular issues among those who deactivated Facebook.
Okay.
So, and
so it's like less.
They looked at, like, you know, they measured the range of opinions between Democrats and Republicans, and they found that the gap actually narrowed slightly during the deactivation period.
Okay, so is it possible that Facebook is actually contributing to, like,
this is
the divide?
A big question, right? Like, is it actually making us more polarized?
Yeah.
The researchers compared the size of this reduction in polarization to the increase in political polarization that's been observed in the U.S. over, you know, a longer time frame.
Over the last few decades. Yeah.
And
when social media wasn't as prevalent.
Right. So they're careful to not say that it's a direct cause and effect, you know. Right. But
it's suggestive.
The comparison does suggest that, like, Facebook's role in this could be pretty significant.
Yeah.
However, they didn't find any statistically significant effects on actual political engagement. So, like, voting. Okay. So, like, you know, maybe people became a little less entrenched in their views on specific issues. Yeah. But it didn't necessarily change whether or not they
were going to go out.
Yeah, like, actually went out and voted.
Yeah. Okay, so it's
complicated. It's not a simple story.
It's not like a simple answer.
Okay, now let's talk about how we value Facebook.
Right.
Because this
is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because they had this clever way of
like how much would you how much money would you accept?
Would get off.
Yeah, to log off.
Yeah. For a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And it was interesting.
They asked people how much money they would be willing to accept to deactivate their accounts.
Okay.
For different lengths of time.
Yeah.
And so initially, before anyone had taken a break, the median amount people were willing to accept to deactivate for 4 weeks was around $100.
Wow. Okay.
Which is, like, you know, not
a lot of money.
Not a trivial amount of money.
Yeah.
The average was even higher.
Oh, wow.
So it seems like, you know,
we think it's pretty important.
At first glance, people place a pretty high value on having access to Facebook. Yeah. Right. But this is where it gets
this is where it gets really interesting.
Really, really interesting.
So what happens for that valuation after people
so after the 4-week deactivation, they asked them again, like, how much would you need to stay off for another 4 weeks? Yeah. And what they found was that the amount people were willing to accept for that second period actually dropped.
Wow.
By up to 14%.
So they valued it less after they'd taken a break.
Yeah, which is kind of the opposite of what you might expect, right? Yeah. You would think that, like, if it was truly addictive.
Right, if you were like, oh my God, I need it.
Like, I'm fiending I got to get back on.
I gotta have it.
You would think the price would go up.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so what's going on?
Yeah.
What could explain that?
Right. So this suggests a couple of really interesting possibilities.
Okay.
One is that, like, maybe people just, like, overestimated how much they would actually miss it.
Yeah.
Like, we have this...
Like, we think we need it.
Right.
Yeah.
We think it's going to be way worse than it actually is.
And then you do it. You're like,
it's not that bad.
Yeah, I don't...
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Another possibility is that, like, the act of taking a break itself led to some kind of learning.
Oh, okay.
Or, like, a change in habits that, like, reduced their reliance on the platform.
Oh, okay.
So it's like...
Like, you break the cycle and then you do
You're like, oh, I don't actually need to check this every 5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes.
I can live my life without constantly being connected.
And that change in valuation, I feel like, has like broader implications for how we think about like the economic value of these free online services.
Right.
Like, we think we're getting all this value.
Yeah, and the traditional way of measuring that is often based on these kinds of like
how much you would pay for it.
Willingness to accept measures, Yeah. But if those measures are inflated because we're overestimating how much we're going to miss it, then the value that we get is probably also too high.
Oh, okay.
So, like, this suggests that our actual welfare gains from social media might be lower than what these initial measures indicate.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so after all of this, did people like just go rushing back to Facebook with the same like level of engagement?
Right.
Or did their patterns of use change at all?
So they looked at that.
Yeah.
And they found that those who had deactivated showed a reduced demand for the platform.
Okay.
They reported that they plan to use it less in the future. And a follow-up survey a month later confirmed that they were indeed spending less time on the app.
Okay.
They also took longer
to
reactivate their accounts.
Interesting.
After the deactivation period was over.
So it wasn't just
temporary experience of taking a break had like a
lasting impact.
Lasting impact.
Yeah. Okay, so as we kind of bring this deep dive to a close, like what are the most important key takeaways for our listeners?
Okay, so I think there are like a few big ones.
Okay.
First of all, deactivating Facebook, even for a relatively short period, can lead to, noticeable improvements in how you feel.
Yeah.
Greater happiness, more life satisfaction.
Right.
Potentially lower levels of anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And as we discussed, the magnitude of this effect is not...
It's not nothing.
It's not insignificant.
Yeah. Right. It's something. Okay. So there's a real...
There's a real potential.
Mental health benefit. Yeah.
Second, it appears that the time we spend on Facebook often comes at the expense of our offline activities.
Yeah.
But interestingly, Facebook use seems to go along with rather than replace other online activities.
Right. Which is...
Yeah, it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, yeah.
Third, while Facebook does contribute to keeping us informed about the news, taking a break reduces our overall news consumption without necessarily making us more vulnerable to believing fake news.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
yeah, those are big.
Yeah, those were important things to think about.
Yeah, distinctions to consider in our own life. Okay, what else stood out to you?
Politically.
Yeah.
It seems that stepping away from Facebook can have a moderating influence.
Okay.
On how strongly we hold political opinions. Yeah. Though it doesn't seem to change our level of political engagement.
Yeah.
And perhaps most revealingly, we seem to initially overestimate how much we value Facebook and how much we'll miss it.
Yeah.
Our actual experience of being without it leads us to value it less.
Right.
And finally, after taking a break,